Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and I'm very excited this week to welcome he's a friend of mine out here in California who's a guy that I'm like, I need to get you on my show. And then I see him every couple weeks at the comic shop, and I go, hey Joey, we need to get you on the show. And I say, hey Joey, we need to get you on the show. And here we are. We're in the tail stretch of Joe on Joe. We've got I think this is the 10th episode left before, this is the countdown.
Nice.
If my math is right, this is episode 10.
I'm stoked for it. I haven't done G.I. Joe in way too long.
And I saw you at the store yesterday, and I'm like, okay, no, we actually need to make this happen now.
It's how most things in LA happen. You for years you say you want to do something, and then you finally just have to get desperate and be like, okay, tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, literally. You're working? Okay, what you finished at 2:30? 2:45 is good then, right?
Yeah, sure. We'll fit
you'll
it
be
in.
totally free.
We'll find a
right?
way.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. So I want to welcome to Joe and Joe my friend Joey Kochick. Joey, the best way to describe him is a Renaissance man.
That's fair.
Yeah, since I've known you, you've been like a personal trainer. You've been a podcaster. You were
editor.
Yeah,
for 11 years.
You edited television for 11 years. You're currently doing carpentry work.
Yes,
which is very exciting.
Just started my own company doing that.
Very exciting, and I look forward to seeing the results of that. And the coolest thing that I think that you're known for, that we know you in your circles, is your dog.
Yes, the most famous of dogs.
The most famous of dogs, Krypto.
Yep.
Who looks like Krypto.
He is Krypto.
He is Krypto. And we met him when you first got him. You would bring him into the comic shop.
He was doing his training when I first got him around the corner
at
a dog training school, and I just took him out between classes once for a walk. There was a comic shop, and someone waved me in and was like, hey, we're cool with dogs here. I came in. They asked me, what's your dog's name? I said, Krypto, and that was it.
Yeah, love affair was born.
Part of the store now.
Yeah, so we watched Krypto just become this super well-trained dog, and then you go and take Krypto to be certified as a...
he's a therapy dog.
Therapy.
So he goes to Children's Hospital, and at least once a week he goes in and he visits with patients. He used to just do kind of like visits, go in, snuggle, say hi, spend as much time as they could before the kids got tired or had to go to bed, whatever. But now he's been doing it 3 years, and he actually does one-on-one appointments with people during their rehab and physical therapy sessions, and the doctors will work him into the treatment plan, like take Krypto for a walk so we can get you up and walking, or brush Krypto so we can get your hands to start learning how to use things again. Play catch with Krypto so you can start balancing and throwing.
Amazing. And this is at Children's Memorial out here.
Children's Hospital,
Children's
Los
Hospital,
Angeles,
Los
on
Angeles.
Sunset.
Yeah. That's
right in Hollywood.
It's a massive complex. Fantastic people over there.
It's awesome. They're the best.
Yeah. And so how long have you been doing that with Kryp?
He passed his test November 2015.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's about 3 years now.
And is it talk to me about the sense of not accomplishment, but just fulfilling. Is it what's it do for you?
To be perfectly honest, for me, I'm a fairly modest person. I always just tell people I just hold a leash. I don't do anything. But it is awesome for me to watch my dog, who he was a shelter dog. Some jerk out there didn't want him, left him, and he's gone from just being this crazy dog who tore everything up and just had too much energy to he walks in that hospital and he snaps to, and he's so disciplined and he's so good, and he lets anyone come up to him, and he knows the right amount of energy to give a person. If they're if they're kind of sick, not feeling well, or they don't move fast, if they're in a wheelchair, he's very grounded, very soft, very mellow. If it's a kid who's just stuck in the hospital too long, bouncing off the walls, he plays with them. He gets up, gives them high fives, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows what to give people, and to just watch my dog do this and just kind of you gotta man, my dog's a better person than most people. He's just awesome. He does the coolest stuff.
I think that could be said for most dogs, regardless of their training.
And to just watch my dog do that, just that feels great.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I particularly do anything because my dog, once he got by his just not having been part of a family before, he was fine. This is just his natural rhythm. He's just really cool.
Well, I think you've invested a fair amount of your life in training.
Definitely.
I think that's why I wanted to talk about so much about it, because it is. It's you making the choice to give this gift to your dog, to Krypto, because it's gives them a purpose.
For sure.
I love my dogs more than anything in the world. But they are lazy and just hang out and scratch my belly. When Krypto comes in a room, Krypto's what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And I see that at the comic shop.
He's got that to him for sure. The other thing too that you learn as you start doing the training, as great as training your dog is for tricks, commands, behavior, socialization is more important because you can teach your dog anything,
Mm-hmm.
but if you just do it in your house by yourself, when he gets around other dogs, other people, he's not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
But because I take Krypto everywhere, like he's the same everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you take him, he's Krypto.
And you do go on a lot of adventures with Krypto.
Yeah.
Listeners, I need you to go online and go to Instagram. It's at Kryptoring _the _globe. So Krypto, KRYPTOURING _ globe. And it's Kryptoring the globe.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I quit my job in TV just to kind of get a break and decide what I really wanted to do with myself. And me and Krypto got in my truck and we just started driving. And we ended up living the whole year in my truck.
Mm-hmm.
We went to 45 of 50 states. We went to Canada. We went back to Massachusetts for a while and stayed with my parents and my brother and his family. And so I started an Instagram when I did that. And just everywhere we would go, just get like a cool picture with something. And sometimes we'd just pick some random place in the middle of nowhere. Other times, we'd go to the Alamo or, downtown New York City or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so just try to, now that he does the therapy dog thing regularly, I try to post a picture every day just so like kids who have met him can see Krypto.
And
it makes
do
them
they
happy.
follow?
And,
Do they follow him on Instagram?
Yeah, some
and
of
all
them
that?
do, for
Oh,
sure.
That's great.
a lot of little kids don't have Instagram, but,
Well, yeah. It's only a matter of time.
right. The ones that do, they can see him every day. Or at least their parents
Or
can
their parents
show 'em.
can. Yeah. We took a tour of Children's Hospital recently for my other gig, and one of the things that the tour guide told us was she started talking about the dogs, and I actually at that moment I forgot that Krypto was one of the dogs she was talking about, but she was glowing about how much she loved the dogs. In fact, she said, she's like, I like to come down here to hang out with the dogs just whenever I can.
The dogs are huge. There's like a whole thing that goes with it. Your dog gets like a trading card, which has their. It has I have one for you in the car.
Oh my God!
It's got their picture on the front. Krypto is in his cape.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then on the back, it's got their name, their birthday or adoption date, and then like some fun facts about the dog. And like you give them to every kid, but like the doctors and nurses and staff of the hospital, like they'll see you and like, can I get a card? Like they love it. They can't
So
wait to
good.
get it. They're so stoked about it.
Well, on this show, we always ask my guests to tell me towards the third act of the show, if you could be a member of the Joe or Cobra team, what would you be? I'm going to ask you also, Krypto, to be a part of the Joe team too.
Of course.
So I hope that whatever you come up with is a joint venture with you and Krypto.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm looking forward to that because we have a lot of wonderful artists out there that listen, and they'll occasionally throw some stuff together. So hopefully maybe someone will.
Oh, I would love it.
Go to Kryptoring the Globe and see a picture of Krypto and make him his file card. That would be amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be best thing ever would be anything you can show me that has a version of Krypto in it is the best. I collect all the comics
Yes.
you get me.
So Joe whenever he comes, so I'm working at the comic shop, and anytime a Superman Krypto comic book comes through, I just set it aside, and I know the next time Joey comes in, I just go, here you go.
Yep.
Like, I know you're gonna.
Whatever it
the
is.
only question is, do you already have it?
Yeah.
And if you
That's
do,
the only thing
okay,
that would stop
then
me.
we'll put it out for sale. Otherwise, you need to get first choice of refusal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I actually gave, for the first time ever, I gave away one of my covers this morning. So a friend of mine just had a baby, made me the godfather.
Congratulations!
Thank
Amazing.
you. It's super awesome, and they love Krypto too. They're like his official second family. So
yeah.
whenever I go on vacation, they take him. So I gave my godson the 2015 exclusive Comic-Con plushie of Krypto. So he can have Krypto all the time.
yeah.
And I also gave him one of those 2 signed covers of Supergirl you gave me last week.
Oh, great.
The one with the really like where Krypto's kind of front and center. He's like part of the cover. I gave him that because that's the October issue, and he's born in October.
Yeah,
so.
well, our mutual friend Mark Andreyko is writing Supergirl right now, and if you love dogs, if you love Krypto, you need to read Supergirl.
Yes.
Even if you're like, oh, I'm not a big Superman fan, or I'm not a Supergirl fan, or whatever. And no. If you love dogs, if you're listening to this and you're a dog lover and you're reading comics, pick these books up because Mark has written Krypto, the comic Krypto, as a supporting. I mean, Krypto he's her cohort.
100% part of everything in it.
Yeah, he is, and Mark's a dog lover too. So that's you can see that in the writing. This is someone who knows dogs, loves dogs, and Krypto is 100% supporting cast member. There.
Yes,
and Kevin McGuire is doing the artwork. So it's
there's
crazy,
there's
silly.
an amazing panel in one of the issues of they're flying the ship out to wherever Supergirl's going, and Krypto's upside down, sleeping, like paws up in the air in what I call the dirt position,
Yeah.
which my dog does all the time. Just like, that's
Yeah,
That's him. That's
totally
exactly what it is.
It is exactly it. The positions that Krypto was drawn in look like the positions our dogs do. I think if you look back at some of the older, like the Kurt Swan Krypto stuff, like the Silver Age stuff, beautiful Krypto, but it was more superhero-y Krypto.
Very
Krypto
much.
would be doing stuff. This Krypto is a dog.
Yeah, a dog that happens to have
superpowers. Yeah. It's really entertaining. So as we sit here, Mary Jane is not. See, a Krypto would walk over and be like, "How can I help you with your podcast?" Mary Jane walks over and says, "Scratch my butt, dude. I know you're seemingly occupied, but I need you here to scratch my butt." That's what's happening.
It's true,
right
though,
now.
unless you had cheese, the kryptonite of my Krypto.
Really?
If you have cheese, all good behavior goes out the window.
Is cheese Krypto's kryptonite?
So I had some cheese once, and I typically don't give him people food. I keep it all separate. And he got up on the couch, and he was like staring at me, and then just whacked me in the face. And when I put my one hand up to my face because I got whacked in the face, he reached and took the cheese out of my other hand. I was like, all right.
That's hilarious.
All right, cool. You got it. Can't get mad at that.
That's so cool. So a question for anyone out there is listening who either is interested in, maybe they have a sick family member or something. What's the or they themselves have a dog, they're interested in training. What's the organization that you went through to get certified, or what's the process for that?
So there was two things. I went directly through Children's Hospital, who has their own in-house program.
Okay.
Because I knew I wanted to do it there. It's right down the street from where I live.
Yeah.
But they get you nationally registered through a group called Pet Partners.
Pet Partners.
And you can Google Pet Partners and find them, and you can get all the information you need to do all the training and do all the testing you need to through them, and then they can help you partner up with a hospital, or it doesn't have to be a hospital. It can be you can go to school, you can go to a library, you can go to old folks home,
old folks
whatever.
home. Yeah,
all kinds
absolutely.
of different stuff. There's all kinds of programs for therapy dogs.
And even if it's just for your own home, because a lot of times we have sick family members, or someone gets hurt and they're going to be late. They're going to be laid up for the summer, for the winter, or whatever. Get your dog trained to kind of give them that support they need.
Sure.
It's going to be just like the movie Monkey Shines.
Yes.
You've developed a telepathic bond with Krypto.
So the best thing about it is, like, they want therapy dogs anywhere they can get them. So even if your dog isn't necessarily on the level where they can like be cool in a hospital with all the craziness going around them, if they're cool to go to a school or a library or a nursing home, they'll get you there.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to feel like, oh, my dog would never be cool enough to go to a hospital, which is something people tell me all the time. It's like, it doesn't have to go to a hospital.
My friend Jason is a therapist back in Chicago, and he has actually, one of them passed recently, but he had two big old basset hounds, right? And they were therapy. They would bring them in alternating days and they worked with children. Therapy with children, and it was amazing.
They find all kinds of ways to do it. Krypto's just started doing rehab with patients where the doctor actually uses him like a prop. And say a kid has working on like their hands, they have motor skills issues, they'll be like, come brush Krypto for a while. Something simple. Or like having trouble standing or bending their leg, they'll hook them up in the rig to help them stand up, and then they'll play soccer with Krypto.
That's so cool.
And
that's so cool.
They find ways to do it because just dogs being around make people happy. So if the dog's good enough, they want them there because it just makes everything easier.
That's so cool. Well, you know what else is making things easier for people? The Dreamer Comics podcast.
Joe and Joe listeners know that I love comic books, G.I. Joe, pop culture, and my wife and dogs are pretty great too. I also love learning how people get to where they're at and where they're going. All of that comes together over at the Dreamer Comics podcast, except for my family stuff. That'd be really weird. Omar Spahi interviews someone from the comic industry every episode, and they break down the journey that creator took to get from reading comics to creating them. Comic luminaries like Jim Valentino, Ross Ritchie, Kyle Higgins, and so many more can be found at DreamerComicsPodcast.com or find them anywhere you get your podcasts. Everyone has a dream. Learn how to make yours a reality.
Yeah, that was the most ham-fisted segue I just made into our commercial, but that's
good.
all right.
It works.
It totally works. It totally
Sometimes the cheesier the segue, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna segue into G.I. Joe. Unfortunately, this isn't a dog-centric episode of G.I. Joe. I can't be
That's
held
fine.
responsible
We have the
for
movie.
that.
We have the movie.
Absolutely. I can't be held responsible for that. But today we are watching Keyboard Warriors.
Is it like a gem crossover?
It sounds like it should be, and that would be amazing. Like the Misfits show up and they're just playing like the keytar or maybe the keyboard necktie, right? No, this is it's basically the movie War Games. It's a bunch of kids get a hold of a Cobra computer that's doing actual war against a specific G.I. Joe member. Grunt gets picked on heavily. And that's the episode. So it's like the movie War Games, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little silly. It's actually light on G.I. Joe. It's heavy on Cobra and these two strange boys.
It almost sounds like, remember when they did those silly E-Bombs World G.I. Joe sketches where they just dubbed over the show?
Well, that was.
It sounds like a sketch from that.
That was a PSA. So
Right.
I was actually going to get to say that too. This is essentially an extended PSA because it focuses on the children. That's what the PSAs were all about. They were like two kids screwing around,
Right?
And then they would get in trouble, and then a G.I. Joe guy would tell them, "Stop it."
Yeah.
That's what's happening here. These two kids screw around. They get in trouble for 22 minutes. They screw up Cobra's plans. And then a G.I. Joe guy shows up and goes, "Stop it." Like, that is this episode. So what is your history with G.I. Joe, Joey?
So I have an older brother.
By the way, we've gone way too far. This is Joe with Joey on Joe.
Yeah.
That's today's episode.
Absolutely. It's an all Joe podcast.
Yeah. Joe with Joey on Joe. Welcome to Joe with Joey on Joe today. So what's your history with it?
So I have an older brother, and he grew up with like the first run G.I. Joe stuff. He had all the toys. When I was like 4 or 5 years old, the original run of G.I. Joe was already over.
Right.
So I used to get. Do you remember the crappy generic ones that came out for a while?
Yeah.
And they
were
would
they
come
called
in
like Action Force or Action?
I
Eagle
can't
Force
remember
or
the
something?
name.
Yes,
But I remember they came in 3-packs only.
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah,
get a guy. You just got a 3-pack. And they had no accessories, so you just had to use the G.I. Joe accessories.
Yes.
And so, like, I would get those for Christmas, but then I would just go, like, play with my brother's old ones. And we had, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but, like, a religious devotion to Sergeant Slaughter as the greatest action figure ever.
Yes.
So, like, when you're a kid, every kid has that action figure that, like, you make this big, crazy scenario go on, and the bad guys are winning, and then you bring out your, like, guy, your go-to guy, and he beats all the bad guys and saves the day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was Sergeant Slaughter for us. So, like, I had all these crappy, generic G.I. Joes, and then every other toy imaginable.
Sergeant Slaughter was your Mary Sue.
Yes, exactly. And then when things were getting crazy, you just bring in Sergeant Slaughter, and he beats all the guys. Because Sergeant Slaughter was a real guy. Like, if you're not from the 80s or 90s,
Oh, they
you might
know.
not
Oh,
get
our
it.
listeners know. Oh,
But-
no. Sarge is huge.
Sergeant Slaughter's a real dude. The rest of the G.I.
Yeah.
Joes are cool,
Yeah.
but you can actually meet Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah,
He's
you
a real
could.
guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that guy, he was like the best.
Still can. He's going to be a guest at Joe Fest. The Joe Con was last year, and it was
Nice.
last year. It's the new version is called Joe Fest, and they just announced Sergeant Slaughter is going to be there.
That's amazing. I actually met Sergeant Slaughter at the Boston Garden when I was a little kid. So whenever WWF tickets would go on sale, they would bring someone in so that if you actually came in to bought tickets, you could get an autograph too.
Wow,
I met Sergeant Slaughter when I was like 9.
that's amazing. How at that age, at that height, how big did his chin look? It must have been enormous.
Oh, it was. You could see it from like across the city. You just knew like,
Yeah.
oh, he's over there.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
his
There
chin.
was something would block out a portion of the
Yes.
sun. You're like, oh, Sarge is in town. We actually grew up with a guy who his dad looked just like Sergeant Slaughter.
Really?
Like doppelganger level chin.
That's kind of scary.
Oh, it was scary because we didn't know the difference when you're that young. You just think he must be Sergeant Slaughter on
Right.
the weekends. Like that's no two humans can look
On the
exactly alike. Like it was a weird. Yeah, it was a strange like wow. We didn't understand it for a good number of years.
It took me a while to understand that Sergeant Slaughter was a wrestler. Like when my dad started telling me about like Sergeant Slaughter before G.I. Joe, I was like, what?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
You mean boot camp?
Like
Private slaughter?
Like that's where he learned to fight before he joined G.I. Joe? Like what do you mean? Like I don't get it.
Yeah. Do you still have any of your toys from when you were young? Even like the generic dudes?
Okay. If you can't handle harsh stories, you should turn it off right now and come back in a couple of minutes. So when I was little, we had this amazing toy box my grandpa had built us. It looked like a big red barn, and you opened the roof and all your toys were in.
Oh, that's
right?
great, yeah.
And then you know the giant heavy-duty plastic bags with zippers that bedding comes in?
Yeah.
We had one of those, but it was like the full size that comes with everything, like the pillows, the comforter, everything. So I had one of those stuffed to the gills with toys, like
Awesome.
every toy imaginable. When I was 10-ish, 12-ish, my parents had a yard sale, and my mom says, anything you want, put aside. And I say, well, I want everything in the toy box. Like, don't get rid of any of it. I want all of it. And my mom says, we're selling the toy box. I was like, okay, well, just don't sell any of the toys in it. And so I go to do my paper route, and I come back, and I watch this old guy loading my toy box into his truck with all my toys in it.
Oh,
my mom
God.
would not save them.
Oh,
I lost
my God.
everything. We lost
what?
Gen 1 Transformers, Gen 1 G.I. Joe, the Ghostbusters Firehouse, all the vehicles, the bridge layer, the snow fleet, everything. All of them.
Oh my God.
All gone. The only thing that I managed to save were my Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I'm dead. I'm dead. And you saw him drive away with it.
Oh yeah, I watched it happen.
I'm dead. And she probably got like $8. $5?
$5.
Legitimately $5.
She sold them over $5.
First of all, your mother's a terrible business person. God bless her. If you're listening, Mama Kochick, like
she just
God bless you. I love the way you raised your son. I like him quite a bit. Terrible business person.
The worst thing
$5?
is my parents do collectibles. They understand how it works.
What?
But my mom just wanted the space. And you know, you get in those fights as a kid with your parents, and they just decide, I know what's best, and I'm going to do it. Like, because I didn't want to go through I guess, because I didn't want to go through the, like, organizing my toy box and choosing this. I was like, no, I just want them all.
Yeah,
They're my toys. They were like, well, then you're not having any of them.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow. How long did well, obviously you're still not over it, and I'm
not
saying you should be.
I'll never be over it.
Did you carry a grudge for like ever?
Like to this moment right now, yeah. For sure.
Wow, I think we need a therapy dog here for you. Where's Krypto? We need a therapy dog.
It was harsh because we had so much, because we had the entire first line of Transformers and G.I. Joe, plus all those stupid generic guys, which I used as the bad guys to beat them up. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I had like Terminator action figures, Alien action figures. James Bond Jr. Remember that show?
I do remember.
I had the
that
car.
Show.
One of my favorite things to do was.
How did James Bond Jr. have a car? He was a kid.
I don't know. His uncle bought it, I guess.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be a kid, right? How's he driving a car?
I mean, 16-year-old kids can drive, right?
Was he 16?
He must have been, because he had a car.
Saying. Okay,
but what I used to always do, because I
feel like it should have been a car, but you only should have been able to put him in the passenger seat.
Right.
Like,
I always thought James Bond Jr. was kind of a dorky show. I just liked the car.
I think it was.
So I would have James Bond Jr. get beat up by one of my G.I. Joes, and then they would drive the car, because the car was awesome.
Did that show have like Odd Job Jr.? And like
I think it had
the children of it did. Like
the villains were still the adults.
Oh, that's even crazier.
But then I think it was the kids. But then James was in it. James Bond was in it every once in a while.
And it wasn't even his son though. It was his nephew.
Nephew.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why? So how
it's
is
in
he
the song? They say in the theme song. They say that it's his uncle.
Right. But then why are you a junior unless James's brother was also named James? Which why are your parents naming you? And I know, and I know that he was an orphan. I get it, James Bond fans out there. I've read up on my Bond. I've read my Bond.
Because you wouldn't sell toys if his name was Dick Bond or Bobby Bond.
Of course you wouldn't. But then you shouldn't make. But they couldn't make him a dad, so they had to make him a nephew.
Yeah.
But he was also an orphan, so. Although obviously in the most recent one they said that Blofeld was his brother, but that's only new canon. Back then that wasn't canon.
No, back then he was. I don't even think
in
the
books,
Timothy Dalton movies come out.
No, in the books he was an orphan. He was orphaned and then raised kind of by the state and became the super agent. So then how does he have a brother? And if it's a spiritual brother, if it's like I love this guy so much, you're my brother, you call me Uncle Ted or blah blah blah. Why would your name be James Bond Jr.?
I don't know, man. It's cartoon naming physics. They
made
up.
I'm just saying these are the things that you don't think about.
But I never got it either, which is I think part of the reason why I thought it was dumb is that like because I think before I watched the show as a kid or before I cared about the details, I just assumed it's James Bond's kid. And then when someone pointed out when I was a little older that no, it's his nephew, I was like, well, what?
Yeah, all these dominoes fall to place. Yeah. She's just like my whole world's coming crashing around me. And so with that, let's get into today's episode. Are you ready, Joey?
Oh, I'm so ready. It's been so long since I watched anything G.I. Joe. It's going to be like new to me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and that's what I love about doing this is because like guys like you who used to watch it or some people never watch it, they just get this. And we, as soon as like we're done rapping, people are always like, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
They're like, there was such a lot. And I love that. Like part of me wants to just turn this show into, instead of like kind of a watch through of this, just turn it into an introduction of strangers to G.I. Joe. Just seek out complete strangers who literally have said, I've never seen an episode of G.I. Joe. And you go, well, guess what we're doing today? We're going to watch one together.
Yes.
Because that's kind of what we've been doing. And it's been so much fun.
It's just, there's something about the nostalgia high of it, I think.
Yeah.
For anyone who's watched it before, like, I imagine it'll only take me 15, 20 seconds. I'm like, oh, wait, I remember this episode. This is what's going to happen next.
It's going to take you back. So without further ado, so I can't say without further ado and then say the words before. So I'm going to say, before we start this episode, I want to remind everyone, go online, check out Joe on Joe Pod. That's me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow me there. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to send me a note, tell me what you think of the show. Do you hate the show? Do you love the show? Send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com. And most of all, go check out my Patreon page if you want to help support the show and or subscribe to G.I. Joe, Joe on Joe Illustrated, which is where I break down every single issue of G.I. Joe, the comic book, panel by panel, page by page. And we go through every issue together, and that's only on Patreon. We release every 5 to the main feed. So you guys, if you're listeners, you've heard every 5, but you can listen to all of them over on Patreon. So, do me a favor and check that out. But now without any further ado, Joey, we're going to get to it. Are you ready to watch?
I am so ready.
Keyboard Warriors?
I can't wait.
All right. Now
I'm still a little disappointed it's not a gem crossover, though.
No, it's not. But guys, this is disc 3 of season 2 of the DIC episodes. Remember, we're jumping around the disc order because the disc order, from what I can see, is not in the proper airing order, which so it's a little misjointed. So dig out disc 3, season 2 of the DIC stuff, and get ready. And here we go. So we got this cold open now with the G.I. Joe logo. They have to put the logo in there to tell kids this is the show you're watching, but even though they're not starting with the theme song, etc., so on and so forth. And it's like Destro's Castle, as I believe what we're looking at here.
This makes me think of the Legend of Zelda cartoon.
Oh yeah. They take their time with these slow pans because that means they don't have to animate things.
Right.
Hey, is anyone there?
Hey everybody. I'm a nerd, and here's a bunch of guys who are obviously in disguise. The dude on the far right, look at him. And that, of course, sounds like Cobra Commander in disguise.
That's absolutely him.
Yeah. And you could see, like, the film grain on this. Like, this is not a cleaned-up copy.
No. This is like they just took it from the VHS and transferred it onto DVD.
Yeah. And Destro, now he's back in his silver mask. He was in his gold mask for quite a while.
Wait, that's Destro?
The other guy was Destro. Yeah, this is Cobra Commander.
They changed him in these episodes then from the ones I know.
Yeah, well, obviously they're wearing a suit here, so he doesn't. Once he gets his regular outfit on, he'll look like he normally does.
But doesn't he have rivets in his neck?
He does, but I think that's covered up by the tie.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe that's Metalhead. Yeah, it is Metalhead. And look at the hips on Metalhead. Like, Metalhead's got, like, birthing hips. But it's because I believe he's hiding his missiles underneath
all of his weapons, yes.
Yeah. But it makes
because
him,
nobody's
makes
threatened
him look
by
like
a dumpy guy in a trench
coat. Makes
coat.
him look like a shapely, comely lass. And so this is Cobra taking over this computer scientist's, like, war games computer, and they're going to control these remote vehicles, basically,
right?
And attack without Cobra's involvement. So it's a really good plan, frankly, because it's kind of like taking their fingerprints off the plan. And as we go into the theme song, you were saying earlier, it's like the wrestling thing.
Yeah, this is like a wrestler's. This is so crazy. I do remember these now, and everything got a little more colorful and a little less serious.
Yes. Yeah, it's much cartoonier.
Yes.
Everything's bigger. Like it's a
lots of guys have rockets on their back now.
Also that. Lots of rocket backs. Lots of they use the gliders a lot on this part. They use those helicopters a lot. Like it's and what it is, it's the toys that were on sale at this point in time. So they just abandoned these toys.
Because it was always just a commercial. So you got to keep it going.
That's Headman, the drug dealer, the Cobra truck dealer.
I don't remember that guy at all.
I believe his episode is actually the final episode that aired, so we haven't gotten to it yet. But he's like the drug dealer.
Cobra drug dealer.
And as the episode, Cobra Commander realizes drugs are so bad that even he can't deal with them. So he teams up. This is what my recollection is. He teams up with G.I. Joe to stop Headman.
Because it was the 80s, so you had to make sure the war on drugs was winning.
Look at the cut on that kid's high top fade. That's a good looking fade.
Yeah, he's got a straight MC Hammer cut going on there.
He really does. He really does. So this kid is the son of the scientist that we saw in the previous scene. His dad built the whole thing. So this is like Miles Bennett Dyson's kid in T2.
Yes.
Who was playing with the RC car.
A little older, a little more autonomous, ready to go.
Yeah.
Use all the toys.
My dad invented Terminator. So guess what? We're going to go play with Terminator. That's what's going to happen right now. And that's what we get
because
here.
The military guards just let kids ride.
Well, those are bats.
Base.
Those are Cobra bats. Right? So they're
What about those guards?
they're guards. They're Cobra sentinels, And of course kids know all the ways to get in, right?
Right.
I mean
always.
that's what you did. When we were in high school, so we were much older than these guys, but it dawned on I worked at the movie theater, and it dawned on me because there were two movie theaters right across the street from each other in Chicago Ridge, Illinois, and the one movie theater would have later showings, and in order legally they had to have the doors open to let people exit, right, for fire codes and stuff.
Right.
They couldn't lock the doors. So it dawned on me, because we would go over there and drop stuff off, that the doors to the mall are just open till like 2 a.m. So we would start rollerblading inside the Chicago Ridge Mall. This is about circa 1992, 93, like with no one stopping us.
Right.
Because we knew that those doors were locked, and the floor, picture the floor of a mall. It's perfect for rollerblading.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best.
It's wonderful.
Best service imaginable.
Wonderful. So multiple times we would just drive over there, put our blades on, scoot over to where the movie theater was, walk in the doors, and start rollerblading, and rollerblade for like an hour. No one would ever kick us out. The only time we got in trouble was after we had left and we were just in the parking lot of the mall. They didn't know we were in the mall. They just thought, get out of the parking lot, you kids. And they kicked us out of the parking lot. They never, like, you were yelling at us and all this stuff, never once said anything about you were just in that mall, weren't you? It was, what are you doing in this parking lot?
Yeah, they just want you away.
Yeah. And we're like, nothing. Little do you know, we just spent an hour circling Carson Pirie Scott. So these kids are playing war games, and they pull up these these video game scenarios. And I love it. Like,
Hey, those are G.I. Joe bases.
okay, well, one.
How do they know that it's a G.I. Joe base?
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you. I don't know the answer to that, but that's fine. And they think it's a video game. Now, were you much of a video game player growing up?
Oh, everything. Up until PS3, I had every system made.
Really?
From Nintendo on, all of them.
Did you hold on to them?
No.
Was it like?
It got to a point where I just couldn't keep them all. I actually gave them all to free for free
for $5.
For free to friends under the agreement that they never ever give them away unless they give them back to me.
It's great. Yeah.
So all my friends have all my systems.
I love it. I held on to like all my systems ever.
Something is going
And
on
then,
I don't
like,
know
it was a
what
point
it
when I
is.
even had them literally all hooked up. I got enough outlets and stuff to get everything going. And then I realized I wasn't gonna play them.
Yeah, I got to a
So
point
I've
where
kind of gotten past that, and
I was
like,
super obsessed with the idea of like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat Shadows of the Empire this weekend.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I got it all cleaned up and set up and ready to go, and I played it and I enjoyed it. But then like I got like halfway through the game, and I realized like I don't ever need to play this again.
yeah,
Like, because it's the memory of when I played it the first time and how like me and my friend were playing it concurrently across the street from each other, and like when that was gone, I just kind of realized like I love this game, it's great, but like the high of discovering it, the high of sharing it, that's what made it fun.
You're so right. I want to talk about that a little bit, but real quick, I want to point out we're about 7 minutes into this episode, 7.5 minutes, and that's the first time we've been introduced to G.I. Joe. They talked about him, but we've never seen G.I. Joe until 7 minutes into this episode. This is all about these
It's sort of like
kids.
in a TV show when like, you know, an actor contracts in negotiation, or like they get sick or have a baby or something.
Yeah.
Like, you got to put together an episode with as little of them in it as possible.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Joes were out on like a, strike.
Yeah. Yeah, like Kirk Cameron shows up for about 2 seconds at the beginning of a Growing Pains, and he's like, "Boy, do I got a lot of homework today."
Yeah.
And then I'll be up in my room, and then they have the entire episode over here, and then at the end he's like, "Boy, what happened while I was gone?"
Yeah,
and everyone
exactly.
looks at each. Yeah, it's that. Yeah. Now there is a lot of Joe in the rest of it, but I think it's interesting that they don't get to it until now. But what you're saying, chasing that high, that is exactly it. That is so exactly it. It's something we've been, in a different way, in my house here the last few months, we don't talk about it a ton on the show, but we've been doing that with food a lot.
Yeah.
We've been changing our diet, and we've been eating a lot of vegan stuff and everything. And part of that thinking there is when you're always seeking the best bite of something, or like your favorite comfort food, the concept of comfort food.
Yes.
You're seeking the high, you're seeking that feeling that you had at some point in your life, whether it was when you were a kid or just a better part of your life. And you're seeking that artificial high. And that's what it is with the games. You want to have that feeling you had when you were playing it when you were 10.
Exactly. I'm doing the same thing with food, just trying to go more natural, less packaged food, less fatty, sugary food. And it's the same thing. Like once you get that like kind of almost like drug addiction to it gone, like you'll go back to something and realize like, I don't even like this stuff.
We've been vegan for about 6 months, and and not just not eat meat vegan, but like no processed foods, no cheeses, no gluten, so like no breads and stuff for the most part, more for health, not necessarily for ethical, right?
Yeah.
So I've had some meat, I've had pizza, occasionally, whatever. It's like that kind of a thing. Last night, as we're recording this, literally last night, I was starving. I really hadn't eaten, and it was late, and I'm like, so I got a filet o fish for the first time. It was midnight.
Yeah.
I was not going to be able to make it home. First filet o fish, or literally fast food I've had in 6 months. It tasted like cardboard.
Yeah, it's gross.
It was terrible.
Gross.
And it wasn't because it was terribly made. It was fresh. I could tell. It was fresh. Tasted terrible.
So my thing was those Little Debbie snack cakes. Like I would buy a box and like eat them while watching a movie with my friends, like crazy. And
well, let's go to commercial real quick. We'll be right back.
Today's file card is rectifying a long overdue mistake on my part. I have never done the Cobra Frogmen, codenamed Eels. Files' names are classified. Their primary military specialties are the underwater demolitions. Secondary specialties are marine engineering. Their birthplace, various countries, and their grade E4s or equivalent. Eels are the underwater demolitions specialists of the Cobra Legions. They man and operate the Cobra Marine outposts disguised as offshore drilling rigs and augment the crews of larger Cobra naval vessels. Eels undergo a rigorous 2-part training program in the warm, shark, and pirate-infested waters of the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean and in the frigid dark depths of the North Atlantic. Their training regimen includes marine structural engineering, explosive ordnance, underwater fighting techniques, and marine geology. This is a prime example of bad bookkeeping on my part. I loved the Cobra Eels. This was truly one of my favorite toys growing up. I'm talking about the Volume 1, Version 1. This is the gray one with the red chest and the white or silver Cobra insignia on the chest. He was awesome. Came with flippers, a backpack that had a jetpack that ejected from it, an air hose, a harpoon. I absolutely love the Cobra Eel. I don't know how I missed it, but everything that I can find in my records do not show that I did the Cobra Eel. So it's great. He's absolutely great. He had like the really expressive eyes that were inside of his face mask. And what was cool about the head of the character is that the head was the face mask with the helmet on it, so that you could get that deep expressive look very visibly in the mask itself. If this was a helmet or like a mask over his face, you wouldn't be able to see his eyes, and that really shows through on the toy. And then all the stuff that you snap onto him, he was most like a character from Mask we were talking about on this episode. Now, the reason I had never done Eels is because I was looking up animal counterparts, and I saw that the second version of the Eels came with a robotic shark, and that excites me. Now, the figure for the second Eels, it came out in 1992. The first one was 1985. The figure for the second Eels, I gotta be honest, kind of sucks. It's bright yellow with a stupid-looking red visor and a blue undersuit. I feel like you could get away with the color scheme if the thing didn't look like just a cartoon version of a G.I. Joe character within the universe of G.I. Joe. Like if G.I. Joe were drawing cartoons of themselves, this is what they would do for a Cobra character. The cool thing about the second version of the eels, they've got fins that actually come off the figure, and that completely redeems the really, really dumb looking helmet that they gave them. And the fact that it does come with a robotic shark that fires a missile. That's fantastic, guys. And of course, there's robotic sharks in this episode, and we're talking all about Krypto. Everything about the eels says we need to talk about them. Here's the file card from the secondary eels. Quote, "We're the soggy saboteurs of the sea. We're Cobra Eels. We're wet and wild." So, Cobra Eels, you're so awesome in the first one, and you've got a lot of coolness on the second one if we get past the cartoonish look of you. We salute you.
So Little Debbie snack cakes.
Yeah, so I would eat those like crazy, and I swore them off for a while. And just recently, a couple of months ago maybe, I bought a box of my favorite, like the cosmic brownies with the little candies on them.
Yeah.
I had like one bite, just threw the box out. Gross. I can't even eat them anymore.
Good for you.
They're nasty.
Yeah, and it's as much the emotional thing as it is any actual flavor change. Because they're still making it the same, and
it's
your
exactly
taste,
the same
your
as it
taste
always
buds
was.
and your body physiology has changed a little bit, but it's that mental. It doesn't give you that immediate satisfaction,
Right.
So cut your loss and go.
Yep. Just get rid of it.
Yeah,
You don't
and
need it.
that's something to be said for like the video game stuff. You know, I have a really clear memory of playing the Superman NES game that was it was the Japanese game. Do you remember this? Like they were like little, I guess, chibi.
This isn't the one where it was so bad that Superman would die from like a guy walking into him. Not that one.
Well, are you talking about the Atari one?
No, I think it was NES.
I think that might have been it, though. I don't think it was bad, though. I actually thought it was kind of cool. It had a little bit of role-playing element to it. Like it had a map of Metropolis, but it was Japanese, so it was like they weren't stylized like American superhero. They were stylized like squat little Japanese people.
Well,
Yeah.
you wrecked the base, but you lost your
And I
weapons.
got for Christmas, and I remember playing it. There's this like burned memory in my head of just playing it over Christmas break while getting ready to go to various holiday stuff.
Yes.
And that emotion is more important than the quality of the game.
Yeah.
Was probably garbage. You're probably right. It probably was. You run into a guy and you die garbage. But like there's that burn in thing in me, and that's exactly it.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me with going back and playing old video games was like the friends aren't there. The silly sayings that you would make up for playing the game weren't a part of it anymore. It's like just playing this game by yourself or playing it with someone that you never played with before is just kind of like, oh, wait, this game is actually not that good. Like,
Yeah. I get
like it
tired
that
of this really quickly. Yeah. Totally. And I mean, we say all that, and yet here we are doing a retro podcast, you know, like and we're kind of rehashing the stuff of our youth. But I think the difference is we're kind of critical eyeing it.
Yeah.
You know, like we're dipping back and going, let's revisit and let's discuss what it meant.
You
not
look at it now
necessarily
and
wallowing
you
in
can
it,
still
know?
remember the things you liked, and at the same time, you can recognize the things about it that are not so good.
Yes.
And-
And see stuff that you missed.
Right.
You know, like a lot of these connections that we see, like I wouldn't have thought this was a War Games thing even though I'd seen War Games.
Right.
I don't think my brain would have put it together.
You
for this
notice
episode.
things you wouldn't notice.
I will say this. I'm going to notice this. This version of Destro is fantastic. I think he looks awesome. Like it's a little gaudy,
Grunt's heading for
but I
the
think he looks really good.
Blizzard
He reminds me of a guy from Mortal Kombat in this look because he doesn't have like the obvious rivets and it's not like a gray silvery color. It's like a white silvery chrome.
Yeah. Well, who's the Mortal Kombat guy?
Quan Chi.
Quan Chi.
Yes.
Okay.
He's from like the later Mortal Kombat games. Looks just like that, except he's got like marks on his face.
So the Joes are, they realize that Cobra is constantly after Grunt, and that's what they think Cobra's trying to kill Grunt, but in reality, Grunt is an NPC in these kids' game, and they're trying to. I guess actually no, not an NPC. Grunt is technically a boss.
Yeah, Grunt is like the enemy that they're attacking.
Yeah, he's the boss battle that these kids are trying to get at, and so now they're going to send a motorized shark against Grunt. And that's a James Bond level.
That is an amazing James Bond reference right there.
In fact, that base is that's like the Cobra base from the G.I. Joe movie
Yes.
under an ice floe.
Yes.
The only thing missing here is chunks of ice that sink in water.
Well, what's really missing is Nemesis Enforcer, who you just can't replace. But we know what happened to that guy.
So that's Deep Six, looking like a Centurion more than he looks like a. Remember Centurions?
From Battlestar Galactica?
No, the toy, the Centurion's toy. They were like 6-inch figures. They were a little bigger, and they had holes in their. They had exoskeletons, and there were little holes like Lego holes, and you would pop weaponry on them.
I don't remember these.
Oh, Centurions were awesome, like awesome, and they had a cartoon, and the gag was they lived up in a satellite. Or there was a satellite that they hung out at. But then when they would have adventures on Earth, and when they would get in trouble, they'd call the satellite. They'd be like, you got to beam me down my exosuit. And the satellite would, like, you remember Jack Kirby's OMAC, the one-man Army Corps?
Yeah.
Where the satellite would hit the normal dude. We're going to go to commercial and be right back. Talk more Centurions.
Hey, listeners, if you're anything like me, all apologies to your family. I'm just kidding. It's likely that they made you this way. No, I'm talking about that I'm always looking for more G.I. Joe content, and I think I've found it. Stop what you're doing. Okay, don't stop listening to this podcast. Can't you multitask? And go to Facebook/Special Mission Force. Brian Wilkins is curating all kinds of wonderful, nostalgic G.I. Joe content, including new pics from his fantastic Instagram page at Special Mission Force. On his Instagram, he's taking photos of Joes out in the wild, in the real world, doing stuff. For me, the two things that stand out the most are his variety of characters that he takes pictures of, and like the depth of field in these pictures. It's just a wonderful job of directing focus for you. I think you really will enjoy his work. So like him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram and Twitter, and get ready for his website, specialmissionforce.com. He's a name to watch in the G.I. Joe game, so get on board now. Now back to the show.
Same premise. So the satellite would beam down, and it would transport these weaponry onto the Centurions. And they had this animation that was always stock, but it was awesome. It was like spinning around. It was like Iron Man's suit, really.
It's like the Justice League Watchtower. They have the exact same thing.
It's exactly it. Yeah, but they were a little bigger scale than G.I. Joe guys because they had to be because you had to put these rigs on them. But they were great. And they had a little dog. Actually, dog kind of looked like Krypto.
Nice.
Yeah, and
all the best dogs do.
All the best dogs do. And that's what this iteration of Deep Six looks like. There was one guy that was underwater, there was a guy that was a pilot, and then there was a guy that was land-based. And they would get different configurations of their toys. That's what it was. So you would get, like, you could like Legos, you could configure them to do different stuff. So they could either be a Jeep or
so like you could take the same guy and just put different rigs on him.
Exactly, it's exactly
nice.
Yeah, it was really cool, and the cartoon was pretty awesome. Like it's the kind of thing where I wouldn't mind doing a special episode of a podcast on it every once in a while. Yeah, I need to get the episodes and kind of rehash it, but they're popular.
Love this on screen right now, that like G.I. Joe Snow half tracks thing. We had that. That was one of my absolute favorite toys to play with. And it's got like the big side missiles and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
The snow toys are great.
Yes.
I always love snow toys because sometimes they're tracked, and the combination of being both tracked and then you would occasionally have this, I guess, skis.
Yeah.
And it was always like a different combination of each on every one that came out, and you were like, awesome. And then occasionally they'd have regular wheels, but the wheels would be chunkier.
Yep.
And then sometimes the missiles would have skis, and was there anything better than like Snow Job, the character who came with skis, or the guys with snowshoes? Like, there was all these like ways to customize.
Even because I was mostly into Star Wars as a kid, and like the Snow Trooper stuff was incredible.
Yes,
the Snow Trooper toys killed it.
Yes, although I had my primary Han was the Snow Hoth Han.
Yes,
and I never liked that. I always wanted a regular Han, and I just didn't have one. Like Hoth Han would be behind the wheel of the Falcon, and I would always be like, "This isn't right." He would take his jacket off. He wouldn't fly the Falcon in his jacket. Come on.
I remember.
We've been playing for hours, and we still.
I was the only one of my friends who had like an older brother.
Yeah.
And
this is great. These kids are just destined to kill this guy. Yes, your older brother.
I was the only one who had like the bridge layer and all these epic original G.I. Joe toys. So like when we would get all together, everyone would be like trying to play, and I would just come in with these big G.I. Joe honking toys and just steamroll over everything. But I always used my other toys in them. So like I would put like a Star Wars guy in a G.I. Joe rig, or put the Terminator driving the bridge layer. Like,
oh, I'd love to see. So a few episodes back, I was talking with Omar. We were talking about a G.I. Joe Scooby-Doo crossover and what that would be. A G.I. Joe Transformers crossover would be awesome.
Isn't there one?
No, not G.I. Joe Transformers.
I thought there
Or,
was.
I'm sorry, Transformers. I'm sorry, Terminator.
Terminator. Yeah, Terminator.
A G.I. Joe Terminator?
G.I. Joe Terminator would be epic.
Like, yeah, where the bats, the Cobra bats are like the predecessors to the eventual Terminator,
Yep.
and they come back in time, and like,
You could even have
that would be awesome.
you could do something crazy like Destro or Dr. Mindbender gets sucked into the computer and that makes Skynet.
Yes.
Skynet's like
Yeah.
a biological conscience.
To be Dr. Venner's brainwave scanner.
Yeah.
They already have something like that. Yes.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And
They're-
then you
they're-
use the BET to broadcast the signal everywhere to launch all the nukes.
So the Joes have to stop the BET in order to stop Skynet from going active.
Don't worry, kids.
And Sarah Connor is the mother of the future G.I. Joe leader.
Yeah.
So John Connor actually leads the Joes in the future, is
Right.
what it is. That
Instead of Tech Com,
resistance,
it's G.I. Joe.
Yeah. What's the name of what? they have a-
TechCom was
TechCom. Was that the name?
the army
of the
from the
resistance?
future,
Was it
yeah.
really?
Yep.
I never knew that. I never knew they had a name.
I
thought
only
it
know
was the
that because
Resistance.
there was a little known video game where you played the future parts of the Terminator story.
Oh, yeah?
So you played from when the war started up until they send you as Kyle Reese
Conquer Grunt.
back
You mean
to
your
the
name is-
past.
Yeah. So that's so great. That's awesome.
It was an amazing game. You actually got to go hand to hand with Terminators in that game. I
Really?
loved it. It was
Okay.
amazing.
That couldn't go well.
Well, you had this weapon that I called the boomstick. It was like a nightstick with the EMP charge in it, so you could just beat them.
Oh,
and then stab
wait,
them.
This is great. So this is Grunt giving the PSA lesson to the kids of saying, "Hey, kids, you've been trying to kill me this whole episode. Well, now we know. And knowing is half the battle." Like that's what's happening right now. These kids are realizing. By the way, we've gone all this time. The little blonde kid, that's a great mullet.
Yeah,
Look at the mullet on that kid.
it's like early Ricky Schroeder in cartoon
It is
form.
amazing, dude. I like this Terminator idea. I like this Terminator. We can revisit. Maybe we revisit it on Twitter or something.
We can
So-
write the G.I. Joe Terminator crossover.
Totally. So we are at that time. If you could be a member of the Joe or Cobra team, you could be Cobra, or you could be Joe.
100% I'm G.I. Joe.
Okay, I like
100%.
it. I like it.
100%.
Who would you be? Like, what would your thing be? And we got to bring Krypto along.
I mean, I would be so little known fact about me. Up until I turned about 18 or so, I was going to be a fighter pilot. That was my motivation in life.
Awesome.
So I would be a pilot.
Okay.
But I would have to blend it kind of Han Solo. So Krypto would be like my Chewie.
Yes.
And we would have some sort of two-man fighter craft where I'd be co-piloting it with Krypto. But then when I need to, just hit a button and Krypto goes out and attacks the bad guys.
Yes. I love it. I love it. What is your code name?
Oh God. So
So you're the pilot dog handler.
yes, pilot dog handler. My code name that I use like as my Xbox name, I've always used it for everything since I was like 8 years old, is Phoenix Kid. But I don't feel like it goes with what we just created.
Phoenix Kid?
Phoenix Kid.
Okay.
It was based off of my obsession with the Phoenix in the fantasy worlds, and also because at the time 1-2-3 Kid was super popular in WWF, and so I just tagged that on the end of it.
Okay.
So man, I don't know. I think it would have to be some sort of like Flying Husky reference.
The Flying Husky. Husker don't? Husker don't? I got it. So Krypto is going to stay Krypto.
Of course,
He's going to stay Krypto.
He always does.
But he's going to be Krypto, the Canine Commando.
Yes,
Okay.
I love it.
The name of your ship, the plane that we're going to make, because we got to customize it, because a dog ejector seat does not exist. But we're going to make one. Your dog ejector plane is, are you ready for that?
Yes.
Are you ready for this?
I hope so.
You fly the Dog Pound.
Yes,
That's
I
the
like
name
it.
of your plane. You fly the Dog Pound, and your name would be, could it be Skydog? Because I feel like you gotta have a Sky reference.
It could be Skydog. It could be Sky Husky.
Sky Husky,
Sky Husker.
Husker, Sky. Sky Husky just sounds like a guy that's too fat to fly.
Yeah, it does.
He's a little Sky Husky. We
Oh,
gotta charge him
I
two
mean,
seats.
I could steal a name from one of my favorite video games, Captain Skyhawk.
Oh, the Skyhawk was a game.
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
But it would have to be Captain Skyhusk. It would have to be.
Captain Skyhusk. You just named it. No,
Captain
that's
Skyhusk,
it. I
yeah.
love it. You're Captain Skyhusk. Yeah, because there's not a lot of Joes, but a lot of them do have their title in their name.
Yes.
You know, like General Hawk. You know, like they use it. Like, but like Duke, he's what is he? He's first sergeant, but he's not like they don't call him first sergeant Hawk.
No,
he's just Duke. So you could be Captain Skyhusk with Krypto the Canine Commando, and you fly the vehicle called the Dog Pound.
I love it. I'm totally in. I want to see this.
It's so good, so good. Joey, I'm so happy that we did this today.
I know.
What'd you think of the episode?
I gotta admit, it threw me that it was like, I now that I see it, I remember that they did that change with the theme song and everything.
Yeah.
And it threw me a bit to remember that kind of like, oh, there was like that period where G.I. Joe and Transformers kind of started to go downhill.
Mm-hmm.
I was sad I didn't get to see the classic theme, but I love, like, there was a guy, he was only in it for a flash in this episode, but he was my favorite guy. It was the black guy with the ripped clothes and the military sleeves with like pockets and grenades hanging off.
Oh yeah, that's heavy duty.
Heavy duty.
Yeah,
Yes.
heavy duty,
Heavy
yeah.
duty was my favorite guy that I got. He wasn't one of the ones my brother had. He was one of the ones that I got, and that was like my cherished real G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing that reminded me of like, I'm getting that flood right now.
I love
like,
it.
All the stuff I used to do with these guys.
That's great.
My mom is a craft person, lots of sewing. I used to steal bobbins of thread, tie it around the banister, and they would rappel down the stairs and fight people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I can see that. That's amazing.
I used to love doing that stuff.
That's
I used
amazing.
to love it.
Oh,
My dad
man.
had toy trains, and he had like one set that he allowed us to just like play with and beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would set the train around the Christmas tree, put that beater on it.
They had a
and-
G.I. Joe train set.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had one of the cars, I think.
Yeah, and
it launched missiles.
I've seen it sell recently, not a terrible lot of money. Like it's like in box on eBay for I want to say like $100.
Ooh.
Like that's not a lot of money
That's awesome.
for a 40-year-old complete play
Yeah.
set. Yeah,
And so we used to fire the missiles at the bad guys and ride the train and fight on the train, and you could crash the train because my dad was like, whatever, this is your set, do
Yeah,
what you want.
yeah,
And like,
yeah.
just all the play sets.
that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So I'm so glad we did this. Remember, listeners, go to Cryptouring the Globe. That's on Instagram, and find Krypto. Reach out, tell Joey you heard him on Joe and Joe, and just love dogs, support animals, be
Yes,
be kind to
absolutely.
animals. Whether you get them trained or not, just be kind to animals. That's really all we're asking for.
Dogs make everything better.
They
So
do. They do.
Just be cool to them. Make friends with them. You never know what they can do for you.
And now you, Joe, and Joey is half the battle.